All right, this is going to be the book cover illustration project. First things first, think back to what your favorite book is. For this project, it can be any book. It can be something as far back as you can remember. It can be something you've just read. It can be a fairy tale, a children's book. Personally, my favorite books are the Harry Potter series. So I'm drawing my reimagining of the very first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, whichever version you have read. One of the tricks I like, and you don't have to do this, but I do like to draw my characters first in pencil, fairly lightly. In this book, because I want my characters to be kind of generic, I let people use their own imagination. I'm going to be kind of hiding the faces a little bit, so I'm not going to worry about detail, but whatever your story is, pick a scene from the book, or if it helps, imagine something where all the characters would be together, just something that kind of tells the story or could grab the viewer's attention when they're walking by in the bookstore. So when I think Harry Potter, the first thing I think of is, well, obviously Harry Potter. I then think of his two friends, Ron and Hermione. So I've drawn the three characters together, each one holding their wands and something that represents who they are. Harry's obviously known for his glasses, so I got that in there. I have Ron with his red hair, and Hermione, who's always a book person, I have her holding a book. So I've got them in my foreground, and now I'm drawing a picture of Hogwarts. Obviously I can't draw the whole castle, but everyone seems to think of the Great Hall as the most important part of the school, so I'm drawing that off in the background, and then I'm going to put it on the mountaintop, if you will. I'm going to be putting in a kind of a sunset picture for the background. I'm going to outline my drawing first with a Sharpie. I'm using a fine point Sharpie for this one just because it's very similar to the pencil marks. After this, I'm going to go back in with colored pencils and color in everything. If I like my drawing, then yes, I should go in and outline everything in a Sharpie. Not every drawing requires that. I've noticed though most book illustrations do like having an outline. A little bit more on the cartoon side of things, so this is perfectly fine for this. Once I've literally gone over the entire drawing with the Sharpie, I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes, let the ink set in and dry. It's not a good idea to go back into a wet drawing and start adding pencil marks to it. Things will usually get blurred or messy or something will happen. Again though, when you're thinking of whatever it is you are drawing, give some thought to what represents the thing. Now, if you're drawing Pete the cat, then you should obviously have Pete the cat. Or if it's Pete the cat and his socks, then maybe draw a picture of socks. On the other hand, if you are doing a story like mine, Harry Potter, you don't necessarily have to have the character in it, but you should have something that represents the character or the big point of the book. I've seen some book covers, and believe it or not, every few years publishers like to recreate or re-release a book. Harry Potter, I think, has been, I want to say, 10 different versions over the years. And I don't mean like it's a new book, I mean a new cover. I personally have a second run edition, so it's not the original book. There was so few of those that almost nobody has one. So I have a classic older book. I also bought a new version of the book, which is just a red binding, and I have an illustrated version of the book, and I have a British version of the book. So I have 4 different versions. Same book, same story, everything's the same on the inside, but the covers of each book and little tweaks, like the illustrated version, pages have all kinds of illustrated, whatever is happening on that particular page in the story. So this is something people like to do. Quite often, reimagining of the cover or something new that'll grab your attention is pretty common. Let's say a book is turned into a movie or something, then yeah, they will definitely re-release an image from the movie for the new book cover, things like that. So that's pretty typical. Alright, the ink is dried. I'm now going in with my colors. Because Harry Potter, Ron, and Hermione are all Gryffindors, I'm coloring in their classic red and yellow scarves. To be fair, that's a minor giveaway. Some books would probably leave that out so you don't know which house they're in. But to be fair, when I think Hogwarts kids, I think them wearing those scarves. Alright, so now I'm coloring in Ron's hair, Hermione's book. I've put the yellow lights in the castle. And then I'm going to start coloring in kind of like a sunset. Now, at first, it's not going to make a lot of sense. Like, why is he coloring these giant patches of yellow? Well, I'm going to slowly blend in orange, red, and blue, and purple on top of those colors. And then I'll smooth them out so they'll look more, like a better word's cloudy. So I like to just do one color at a time. That way I slowly build up my layers and I don't have to swap out the pencils. There is no really right or wrong way to color in, so I'll leave this up to you. If you'll notice though, I'm leaving a lot of white space, and I'll come back and you'll see the final step with a Sharpie. Now, real quick, it's pretty obvious I've sped up this video. This took me a couple hours actually to draw. So this is not something I expect to be done in minutes. I'm sure somebody could draw pretty fast, but if you want it to look good, please take your time, especially when it comes to the coloring portion of this project. You want to be as even as you can, you want to be solid coloring. If you make any mistakes, obviously go and grab your eraser and clean it up, but for the most part, take your time on your drawings. So now I'm adding a little bit of a dark value, blues and purples into the sky, so it looks a little bit more evening. Now, to be totally honest, when I did this project, I did a bunch of concept drawings first. So I did not quite as clean, not quite as good looking, but I rearranged my characters, which symbols do I like. So this is not a first time right off the bat I got it perfect. No. I sketched out like Ron doing different things, Harry and Hermione doing different things. I knew I wanted the characters and I knew I wanted the castle, but I wasn't sure how to place them or where they would look the best. So obviously, I liked what I did with my concept drawings, and then this step is me seeing it to the end. For the final stage, I'm going to go back over all my drawings with a black Sharpie again. I'm going to fill in the main characters. I'm also going to put some shadowing on the castle. Again, this is a nice little style that I like to use where it shows you the image, but it also has a pretty high contrast value to it. And I just find that makes things a little bit more interesting. So I'm going in with both a fine point Sharpie and a standard Sharpie to color in. General rule of thumb, I know I did an outline of my characters at the beginning with a Sharpie, and that's a good idea, but I also let it dry, and then I let enough time go by so that when I started putting in my color pencil, everything looked fine. And if I had made a mistake and I wasn't as clean with my pencil marks, This is why you always do pencil before Sharpie. After I was done with the pencils, you can always put a Sharpie on top of a pencil to hide any mistakes you may have made, or if you didn't really feel like cleaning the paper completely. Sharpie will totally cover up almost all pencil marks, but pencil marks don't do much on Sharpie. So Sharpie really should be your last step in the process. Now I'm going to cover up all of my characters, obviously, and then I'm going to go in and do selective shadowing on the castle, so it'll look a little bit more deeper. Again, imagining sunset, so darker, more intense shadows on the building. And again, this project you could use pencils, markers, crayons. It's up to you. I personally find that a lot of illustrators like colored pencils or a combination of watercolor pencils and inks. That's kind of the traditional thing, but in today's day and age, Photoshop and Illustrator are taking over, so if you have the opportunity to do a project like that, fantastic. But otherwise, just stay true, blank piece of paper, pencil. You can do a lot of amazing things. Alright, I'm almost done. So again, take your time with your project, reimagine your favorite story, give it a new cover, think outside the box if you will, and enjoy the work that you have. Thank you for taking your time. This is a good project to practice your drawing on. Thank you.